Hello, everybody. Thank you guys for joining, and I have these headphones on. I planned on having more time than I thought I was going to have time in between, so thank you guys, everybody. Let me actually just move my chair back just a bit. And there's like a bunch of people in here, which is awesome. All right, what am I doing? Let me hide the banner. It's been a while since we did a stream. Banner, and remove that. Alrighty. And they changed this program. Clickbait title. All right. So what's going on, everybody? Thank you guys for joining. Sorry, we're a little bit later. We also changed the time from like 9:30 to 10, and that's because I decided to do a members only live stream beforehand, and that ran a little bit later than I thought it was gonna run. And then my throat's like, oh crap, I've been talking too long. I'm starting to feel it. So just so I don't have to talk all of this, I'm going to be joined by a good friend of the channel. We're going to be joined by Steven, and then I saw Chris is lurking in the chat, and Flying Rich is here too, which are fellow gun YouTubers. Go check out their channels. If you guys want to pop on, and discuss, let me know. Rich, you can send me a DM on Discord. Chris, if you want to pop on, send me a private message on Facebook, and we'll go from there. Okay, perfect. All right, so we'll hop you in. I'm going to send you the invite link to your Facebook so you can do that. Just make sure you put your pants on or a shirt on. Well, no, pants doesn't matter. We can't see it anyway. Sorry, I got to give people crap. And then we're going to get started. All right, so what am I doing? I'm invite guest, copy link, go on shitbook. Find Chris. There we go. Thank you for just sending me a message so your name is the first one that pops up. And there we go. All right. Guys, just make sure that you're going to have headphones on so we can do that. Alrighty, so thank you guys. Woohoo! It is less than 1 week to go. I have like phone here, I have phone here. It's less than 1 week to go before SHOT Show, and there's been a lot of stuff that's going on with the show, and a lot of stuff that's giving me and fellow content creators anxiety. And I'm sure it is giving one of my close friends, Nick, a lot of anxiety over whether he's going to have to cancel the Airbnb or not, because we have 2 more days before he gets charged for the full price. All right, Corey, we're going to discuss that. So this is actually in our members only live stream, we were having this discussion, and then I made a comment that I'm generally not that much a fan of optics ready, and then we'll chat about that. Clickbait title, fine. We're going to start with that. Jesus, you make one comment and like everyone gives you hate for it. So I think I'm getting as much outrage for saying about optics ready as, and what I don't understand is that, so which video was it that I made a comment that this gun was not for wrong-handed people, meaning left-handers. And half my family's left-handed, my wife is left-handed, and I think a couple of my children are too, but it's a joke and they get that. I got so much hate on that. Meanwhile, not one person had issues with me calling a bunch of people FUDs. Not one. So this is actually, I'm getting the thing with optics ready. All right. So I'm going to sum up the news, and then I'm going to bring on our guest, Steven, which is Bullets for Bucks, and Chris from Clover Tack, and we can discuss this a little bit more. So, is SHOT Show canceled? No, it's not. But if you're there to see your largest manufacturers, you might as well not bother attending. Over the last week and probably over the last 3 days, my foot is caught. Over the last three, let me start it again because I'm going to cut it down. So, um, so is SHOT Show canceled? No, SHOT Show is not canceled. However, if you want to go to SHOT Show to go to the biggest booths possible to look at the newest Rugers, Tauruses, probably Smith & Wesson, SIGs, well, don't bother wasting your time because those companies are not going to be there. So over the last week and primarily really over the last 3 days, 72 hours, we've had a lot of bigger companies say that they're not going. And interestingly, most of them did not even make a public statement. The only one that has actually made a public statement that they're not going to be attending is Beretta. So there have been rumors circulating that Beretta, Benelli, Sacco, Tika, Steiner, and Burris are not going to be attending. That is true. So 48 hours ago, Beretta did a public release that they're concerned about the Woo, so they're not going to subject their employees to those shows. So they're not attending those shows or any other shows for that matter. Now, all of those companies are actually part of the Beretta group. So Beretta owns Benelli Beretta, they own Steiner and Burris, most recently, and they're the exclusive distributors for Sacco and Tika. So all of those brands, they're not going to be at SHOT Show. Furthermore, at the same time, you had Safariland said that they're not going to be there. Springfield, Kimber, 511, I believe Nighthawk Customs, which is not part of Kimber now, anywho, are not going to be there as well. And then I was made to look like the biggest jackass when in a SHOT Show attendees group, I said that no, Ruger is definitely going to be there, as was confirmed to me by one of my contacts at Ruger, who is one of the higher ups. And then, lo and behold, the next morning, we find out that Ruger is indeed not going to be at SHOT Show either. So then I send an angry text message and then get a response back, oh my god, I'm sorry, I made you look like a jackass. As it turns out, that contact was not planning on going to SHOT Show anyway, and the 4 people in the executive office who are making that decision, they knew that he wasn't going to be there, so they kept him out of that loop. However, most of those companies, most of those companies are not making a public release on it, and the reasoning for that is, well, it's like, we're not going to deny that we're not going to the show. However, we're not going to go out of our way to say that we're not going to go to the show. So those aren't attending. And then before then, so then there was also Taurus. I haven't had a confirmation on Taurus yet. However, I was made to believe that we're not going to be there because Taurus, they still have a lot of production and higher ups in Brazil, and they got really bad position in Brazil, so they're not going to be attending. And then before then, we had obviously SIG and Vortex. SIG did say that they're pulling out a while back, and Vortex is, they honestly did not even make any statements. They just don't have anything. Okay, so that's actually a good question. We're going to cover that. So why is all of that happening? So keep in mind that a lot of those bigger companies, they're not individually owned. They are either publicly traded, in case of Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Vista Outdoors, Sportsman Warehouse still a little bit, and Taurus. They're publicly traded and they have shareholders. And they also have activist shareholders. So from their perspective, and they're not going to admit to this, but this is what it is. They don't want to be in a position that they're going to go, they're already short-staffed to begin with. They don't want to be in a position that they're going to go to the show and somebody gets sick, and every year, everybody who goes to SHOT Show, you get sick. It's called the SHOT Show flu. Except that this year, it's the Woo. The shot showu, shotwu. We'll figure that one out. And that's just par for the course. And then so they don't want to have those people come back and bring it back to their facilities, and then God forbid other people get sick, and then production has to be shut down. And it would be bad enough if you just owned the company and there was no other shareholders, but in the case of larger companies, they have activist shareholders, which would just take that opportunity and say, hey, look how irresponsible we were. You took these people, you sent them out in harm's way, and they got sick, and now they have these medical costs, and your production shut down, and all of that stuff. So they just don't want to necessarily deal with that. And to be frank, those companies didn't need to be at those shows anyway, especially because they generally don't sell to dealers direct anyway. They sell to distributors, and they don't depend on getting orders at SHOT Show because Davidson's, Hicks, any of those companies, they can just pick up a phone, call Ruger or Smith, and be like, hey, we need to buy X amount of guns, and they can send them. The smaller companies, I mean, you truly do have some gun companies that are run by older people, and they buy into it, and they just don't want to take those chances, and they just don't want to go, and that's okay. And then on the flip side of it, you actually do have a number of companies that they are truly freedom-loving people, and they're like, nah, I'm not gonna put on a face diaper. I'm not gonna get on a plane with that. And then there's no way in hell am I gonna wear a face diaper while at the show. And no, I'm not gonna get jabbed. So you don't need to get jabbed in order to get to the show. They are requiring masks, although once we get there, we'll actually take a look at if they're gonna require them or not. Now, why is all of this happening basically a week out from SHOT Show? Well, ultimately, it really comes down to is the large companies, they really didn't feel like being there, but they already spent all of this money on booths. And now it's basically decision time. They were hoping that NSSF, which is the show organizer, National Shooting Sports Foundation, they were hoping that they're going to shut down the show. And they didn't. They did not blink. So if NSSF was going to cancel the show, then companies would get their booth deposits back and things like that. And in the case of SIG, I mean, their booth was like over $1 million just for the booth plus the space itself. So it's a sizable investment. It's definitely a sizable investment. And all of the booths so we didn't have a show last year. So 2021, they rolled over those deposits for this year. And that's what a lot of those companies were hoping for, that it was going to get canceled and then they would either get their money back or not. For National Shooting Sports Foundation, well, they desperately need to hold a show because that's how they make their money, and they can't afford not doing it. Now, from their perspective is, even if they wanted to cancel it, if they do cancel it right now, they would lose a crap ton of money because they would have to give all of this money back, plus they made financial arrangements. And if they cancel it on their own accord, they're going to be screwed no matter what. The only way they would get bailed out is if the state of Nevada or Las Vegas comes in and basically says, nope, cases are going through the roof, you can no longer hold a show. In which case, insurance kicks in. So all of the major events, they are insured. So if acts of God or anything happens and the shows are canceled, the organizers would get reimbursed. So you have manufacturers who are playing chicken with NSSF. NSSF was playing chicken with the insurance companies. And basically everybody was holding out, hey, is this actually going to get canceled or not? From what I'm told from everybody I spoke with at NSSF, plus a lot of those major companies, the show is still going on. There's definitely not going to be a lot of the bigger companies, but most of the smaller companies that I've spoken with, they are absolutely going to be there. They are excited. And from their perspective, they're actually excited because, hey, you know what? Now that I don't have to visit Taurus, Ruger, Springfield, Beretta, Safariland, Sigurd Vortex, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 booths. So that's 4 hours now that I can dedicate to smaller companies that would necessarily be uncovered, or I wouldn't have time to ordinarily visit. And more companies, they definitely are going. I just hope we'll have to see what we're doing with the face diaper. So that's the what's going on with SHOT Show, and is SHOT Show canceled? And now I'm gonna bring on a bunch of my friends, and we can discuss this. So, ooh, Derek is here as well. Actually, Rich, did you send me a message? No, you did not. All right. Um, can somebody check if you're streaming on Odyssey? That'd be great. Um, and then we can do that. All right. So, Steven, let me know if you're good. I will bring you on. What's going on, buddy?
Oh,
Oh, wait, hold on. Hold on. I can't hear you. I have to put the headphones on and stuff.
All right.
What's going on? So, wait, hold on. Is this the first time? No, it's not the first time you're on.
Second time. Second time, I think.
We did.
Maybe third, but
We did the elections.
yeah, I think so. It's been a while, though.
Okay, it's been a while.
It's been a while.
All right. So, well, I know the answer, but are you excited about going to SHOT Show?
Yeah, I'm super excited. I mean, I've never been, so I mean, it's a little bit like nerve-wracking, right? Because I've never gone, so I don't. But yeah, I'm excited to go. It should be a good time, and I'm looking forward to it. Today was my birthday, though, so it's been
a happy birthday.
Yeah, now, 35 going on 100.
Now, if you want to wish him a very happy birthday, go and subscribe to his channel if you haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
So yes, we dragged you out. Chris, I don't see your camera, but if you want to pop on, just hop on there. And Derek, same thing. Just give me a thumbs up. I'll add you in here. So we have two other people who are going to SHOT Show, and this is going to be pretty exciting. So I wish Alex was here. So Mr. Card Shark is going. So I think pretty much everyone is still going to be going anyway.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I got trip insurance and stuff in case I had to cancel, but I'm not planning on pulling out unless I, am in the hospital or something like that.
There you go. All right, so I'm going to go back and actually answer some of these questions. And, we have, holy crap, there's, a bunch. Okay, so Chris doesn't have a cam. Chris, let me know if you're good, and we'll add you as audio, so at least we can hear you that way. And then Derek, okay, we're good there. Okay, so let me actually go back for these. So Joe, election stream was a shock. Yeah, that was a 12-hour live stream or something stupid like that. And then when the results came out, I was too depressed to continue the stream. Actually, no, it was before that. It was even before then. Okay, so wait, somebody just popped on. No, or somebody popped off.
How's my audio? Does it sound good?
Your audio is perfect. Your audio is perfect.
Trying out the newer mic today.
Okay. Gator, so did you fix your boomstick yet? Which one? Are we talking about the 300 PRC that I broke? Okay, so here we go. Now so Chris basically, hey, that this was clickbait. I don't know, was the title clickbait or not? I do think that this is actually really going to be significant. Speaking to more people, so I would say if we had this discussion about 2 days ago, I was actually legit concerned whether NSSF was basically going to say, hey, you know what, we're not actually going to hold a show. But talking to a couple of the larger manufacturers, like, no, the show's still going to happen. There's too much money that's already tied into it, and literally the NSSF cannot afford to cancel the show. So the show will absolutely happen. So Palmetto State Armory, I talked to them. We're super excited about it. I confirmed with there's some companies that are still on the fence, and I will say there's probably, as per another marketing person at one of the industries, they have a booth, but they still did not book airfare for their people.
Well, you got SCI conventions right during or at the end of it, and as far as I know, that's still on, and a lot of the same key players are going to be there as well. So if that hasn't been canceled, that's a good indicator that both will go on. And at least that's my opinion on that.
Right. All right, don't want to get screwed for the extractor. High Slav. Okay, we have lots of people. Flying rich. I'm anti-optics ready. Okay, there's actually some specific. No, it is. I have two guns that are embargoed, but not shot show news. Okay. No, I want to see 511. Yeah. So I don't know what. So there were a couple of other companies that I basically missed, but I think for more smaller nature. The ones that I haven't had confirmation on yet is Savage, Mossberg, and basically there are rumblings that Vista Outdoor was not going to go as well. Vista Outdoors are actually the largest booth at SHOT Show, and Vista Outdoor is the Federal, Spear, Gold Dot, um, RCBS, basically a whole bunch of brands that are
It
not.
used to be Remington.
Well, no,
Right?
no, no, not now. They bought Remington. They bought the Remington brand now.
Oh, okay. Is that what it is?
Okay. So this is actually a really good question. Will the booths still be set up for these companies or any signage or representation at all? Okay, so this is actually why it was the weird part, because based on the timeline, all of these companies, so keep in mind, they've already paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for the booth space itself, and they already paid to have all of their booths shipped out. I mean, the show is being set up as we speak. So I do expect that the booths are actually going to be put up. However, there's not going to be anyone at those booths, and obviously, there's not going to be any firearms set up for those companies. Now, some of the companies, they are going to go with smaller staff than usual. And, like, for example, for PSA, they're not going to have any of their client facing people there. They're going to have other people there at the booth that I guess are not going to be as critical if they go down. And this is actually the interesting part because so Vegas Bug managed to avoid it in 2020. Yes, you're right. But I think anybody who went to SHOT Show in 2020, I think we all had the virus at that point, or at least we were exposed to it. Um, and you had it 3 times? I know you had it at
Well,
least once.
confirmed once. Yeah, I think I've had it 3 times.
I'm sorry, how do you have it? You had the VU 3 times.
I was tested positive for it once. I think I've had it 3 times. I'm pretty sure. I mean, all the symptoms matched, and I've been around people with it. Oh well, with my job that I previously had, I was exposed to it a lot.
Okay.
So it kind of lined up with things going on in workplace. But
All right, so I am going to add Mr. Clovertech and Derek to the stream. And yay! Now it feels like a real big podcast.
oh boy,
Yes.
Chris,
Audio
what's
good?
your audio is your audio is perfect. Okay, so since you
Groovy.
brought up the clickbait title, don't you think? I don't think it was that clickbaity. Because
Well, number one, I'm fine with it because you're going, right? What
Yes.
aggravates me is the clickbaity people ginning up the drama over companies not going. And these are people that, for the vast majority of them, either they're not going or they've never even been before, right? And that's just aggravating.
uh,
But
well,
I've been listening while you're talking and taking notes. I've sort of got a knowledge dump. I can fill in some of the gaps you've got if you
absolutely,
want me to.
absolutely.
Okay, so first off, Mossberg, love Mossberg. Will shield for them any day. They're solid. They did not back out when NRA canceled in Houston.
Okay.
They're not backing out for SHOT Show so far, anyway, for what I've heard.
Awesome.
Also, you talked about Savage. Savage is also loopholed for those that don't know. And I got confirmation the other day that, now this doesn't mean anything for the actual SHOT Show. Anybody in the know knows that Range Day, which happens the Monday before
Yes.
SHOT Show, is handled by a different group,
Correct.
even though it's the industry day at the range.
Yep.
But they will be at Range Day. They're firing the first shots of Range Day in that booth with Crispy. If everybody's aware who Crispy is, go look him up on IG. What other do I got? So I've been in communication with NSSF. I actually had the president Joe
Yes.
on the podcast a couple months ago, something like that. Been in
Yes.
communication pretty closely with them ever since. You're absolutely right that for them it's a game of chicken. It's vitally important that even if it's all small companies, they have the show.
Yeah.
So you're right about that. As far as the booths, I can confirm that some of the space that some of the bigger companies backed out on has already been resold. It's already been utilized
Fantastic.
for other companies. So I
Yeah.
can confirm that now. So I don't know. Obviously, their booth won't be there, or at least it in part won't be there because how are the other companies going to put their stuff up, right? But some may be. I'm not going to say they're all going to be missing. To hit on Taurus, you asked about Taurus. I just got when you said that earlier. I text my contact. The verbatim what I got back is so far we are a go. Look forward to seeing you there. So,
Interesting. So I'm assuming this is this Jacob or is this somebody at Taurus?
well, it's Jake.
Okay. So that's
Yeah.
actually interesting. So he didn't get back to me. So my source is another major manufacturer who talks to Taurus, and
Right.
they basically said that they're not going to be there. But this is actually going to be good that they are because there's stuff that they have that's supposed to be released at SHOT Show. So that's going to be interesting. Now,
Yeah,
you,
exactly. Yeah, I
yeah.
think you and I both know, or yeah, we got some stuff scheduled for that week. Um,
Uh,
so
so
that's going to be weird. It's going to be strange, but it maybe, information's getting crossed because you're right. Some companies are not putting out things publicly, and I get part of why they're not doing that, but also I think on the same flip side they should. That way, there's not nearly as much confusion about it.
yeah.
And so, I've heard, like you were talking about, some companies say they're not going, but then officially they're not going, but they will have a presence. Well, what does that mean? Right. And then others are like their big wigs are not going, but they're going to send like a skeleton crew. So maybe
Yeah.
Taurus is a situation like that. I mean, you've seen the Taurus booth. I mean,
And it's
how
pretty
many?
big booth. It's one.
it-
It's
It's
probably the third largest.
it's pretty big, but I
Yeah.
mean, with a scaled back show, you're looking across the board, whether you're talking media, whether you're talking
Yep.
exhibitors, or whether you're talking registered guests. The numbers is something like 20% less this year is kind of what they're looking at.
But
And
here's the thing.
so
But here's the
with
thing,
less
though.
traffic, do they
Yeah.
need as many to work the booths, right?
Correct. So, but I want to take the opposite side of this because what most people don't realize, even with these cancellations, this is still going to be the biggest show that they've had
Yes.
because they increased. So now instead of just being two floors,
Hmm.
two main show floors, now they have the Caesars Expo Forum, and they increased by an additional 180,000 square feet. So even if we take out the tourists, the Rugers, and all of those guys, it's still going to be net a bigger show in
Right.
terms
Yeah.
of booth space.
Yeah.
And I think from
So
the attendee side, and let me know how you feel on this, and same thing for you, Stephen. I think as gun owners or as conservatives, like we've been so fear mongered over the last year and a half. We just want to go out and go to an event almost no matter what, just to say screwed. I want to go do something.
well, that's actually something I've got in my notes here that I was trying to write down so I didn't forget. Yeah, one of the reasons I want to go at this point, I don't care who all pulls out, right? If it happens, I want to be there. One of the reasons is I want to experience what it's like in all of this turmoil and big companies not
Yeah.
going and things swirling around the pandemic or whatever, right? I want to witness that myself. I want to be on the ground, and then that way when you get some of these people that like to stoke the flames of discontent and drama and everything else, that start putting out videos at what a dumpster fire SHOT Show was and blah blah blah, that potentially there's a counter. I can come along and go, whoa, wait a minute. These guys don't know what they're talking about. I don't know what SHOT Show they went to, but
Yeah.
yes, there wasn't a major manufacturer there. Yes, there was less people, but you know what? It was still an amazing show, right?
Absolutely.
So to hit on two quick things before while I was information dumping, talking about companies that are not going to be there, and keep in mind too, you had mentioned the properties under Beretta. Keep in mind that when you hear this big long list of companies that ain't going to be there, that's technically one company with all these brands underneath
Yep.
it. So ones you didn't mention, I don't think, was Weatherby, Gerber, Kershaw, Vortex,
Okay.
Swiss Army, You mentioned Davidson's earlier, but they said they're not going.
No, no, wait,
Um,
Davidson's is not going. Okay, as a
that's
distributor, that's interesting. Okay.
that's a conversation I got, and that was going to be something else I was going to mention. Is you talk about the smaller businesses being there, the
Yep.
smaller businesses being there, and there being no distributors there, walking around or whatever could be problematic. So that's something we do need to watch. Now, real quickly, and this is my last thing, and I'll shut up for a little while, I promise. Is you were talking about the masks thing, right?
Yeah.
So some shows have went on in other parts of the country. USCCA, for example, here in Texas in October, there was an event. I think it was in North Carolina or South Carolina, one of the Carolinas here recently. What was
Mm-hmm.
ATA, I think. So
ATA.
and there, there wasn't any mask mandate. She didn't have to worry about the mask. Blah blah blah. So somebody had mentioned out in the chat about the state overseeing the strip and some other weird things that Nevada has. So with Nevada, there is a mask mandate currently.
Yes.
There's almost no way that goes away with Omicron and stuff variant, and how no longer we've been into that. There's almost no chance of it going away between now and SHOT Show. And so while there, you could say, well, we can go and we can just be mass non-compliance. Well, here's the thing: when you start bringing in these hotel, casinos, event venues, you start dealing with a Nevada Gaming Commission as well, and the venues are not going to lose their gaming license. Obviously, they're a casino in Vegas; they're not going to risk that. So they're going to be more likely to enforce that sort of thing than here in Texas or South Carolina or one of the Carolinas or something like that. So people need to keep that in mind if they're thinking they're going to go and I'm just not going to go and then I'm just not going to wear a mask. I'm going to buck the trend or defy the thing. It's potentially that you get made an example of and you may get kicked out. It could happen.
All right, so I do actually have some experience with this. I was in Vegas a couple of months ago, and this is how you defeat all of those mask rules. You carry around your own water bottle, and like, yep, I'm drinking. I'm actively drinking. But in that same group that we're all part of, like the SHOT Show attendee group, there are a couple of local Vegas people, and they just recently went to the PBR, which is the National Bull Riding Rodeo, which is also a massive show, and they went to SEMA. And basically, once you get in, like I said, when you walk into the casino, there will be somebody there who's going to be guarding it. But
Mm-hmm.
he was like, they showed pictures of all of these events. There is not one person that you can see within the picture who was
Right.
actually being
Well,
a mask. But here's the thing, though. Honestly, the bottom line, though, I will, because of the importance of the show to people like me and you, well, like us, I would deal with it. I'm going to tolerate, and I'm not going to be put on a TSA blacklist.
right.
Uh,
Right.
I will go out there. And honestly, my biggest concern was so when 2 weeks ago when Biden announced the new steps to battle the Wu, I literally thought that he was going to require jabs in order to get on a plane, and I was like, okay, look, even if
Right.
that happens, I'll drive out to SHOT Show, because
Right.
I think it's like, look, it's the one place that we do need to be. It's the one place where you can go shake so many hands, and I think this year it's going to be even more important because we can actually go reach
I
those
think
companies we ordinarily would not.
I think for smaller creators, and I put you in this category.
Yeah.
Bucks, I'm not sure his numbers, but he's not millions. He's a smaller creator in
Same as
my
us.
opinion. But I think it's mission critical this year
Oh yeah.
because so many big companies and big names and in the creator space and stuff probably aren't going right. Well, that could be opportunities that open for us, right?
Absolutely.
And if nothing else, just cataloging it and being a part of it. It's historic. I mean, like you said, they're expanding the floor plan. It's historic because of the time we're in and everything else. I just want to be a part of that feeling and a part of it.
Absolutely.
If you've ever been to SHOT Show before, you know what I'm talking about with SHOT.
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious to see if that energy is still there, even though with all this stuff going on, is that amazing SHOT Show energy still going to be there? And as long as that's there, it'll be a good SHOT Show.
Yeah. So earlier, Karchuk had a question: is this going to be the biggest in terms of attendees or exhibitor space? So this is going to be the biggest in terms of exhibitor space. Attendees, as far as I know, they were down in registrations over before. However, they're still going to allow registrations on site versus prior years where they basically said, nope, we have a hard cutoff of registrations. No more registrations, and that's it. And I think the last year they had the show was 64,000 or something like that. And then 2021, I think we were tracking for 80,000 before the show was canceled, but that show was canceled October 30th. So they
Yeah.
announced it September 15th. It was canceled by October 30th.
Well, I had heard they're down about 20% across the board, like I said, and
Yep.
you're right. I mean, late registrations and other things, who knows? But even media, it's been consistently over 2,000 as far as registered for media in the
Nice.
past, and it's like 1,600 or something this year. That's what
Okay.
I was told. So, but hey, that's less competition for us, and talking with people
Yeah.
and whatever. So, I'm for it.
I don't think the title's clickbait really. I mean, SHOT Show 2022 canceled? Question mark. It's a question mark. You're taking a little bit of creative liberty, but then again, you're fighting against everybody on YouTube, so you got to a little bit. I don't think it's that bad.
It's search engine optimization because a lot of people do think that it is canceled or we're waiting for the other
Right.
shoe to drop.
Right.
Yeah, how many people are Googling that question, right?
What we're talking about is relative to it too. It's not like we're talking about something completely different. So I think SHOT Show is going to be, it might be even a better opportunity for us than it otherwise would be. Being smaller players, we might have more opportunity. That's just a guess. And like you said, there should be more vendors there than there ever has been. So I think we could capitalize on it. It could actually work to our benefit. I don't see it as a negative. Nothing's going to stop me from going necessarily.
And this is the first year we actually dragged you out.
Well, last year it wouldn't have worked. I mean, now because of the changes and I'm doing this full time and stuff. Yeah, obviously, a lot more
related tangent. Are you guys making media day at the range?
Yes.
Yeah. I know somebody was talking about airports in the chat, and I'm flying out of Sheridan, which is even better than Billings because somebody was talking about Billings Airport. Like you could call it a terminal, but it's not even like a terminal. You just walk in and like walk out to the plane. It's pretty small, but it makes it really quick and easy, which is nice.
All you people in those big square states.
Well, you still got to be 2 hours. I found this out the hard way. I missed a flight last year. If you have to be like, I don't know, however much early. And I didn't, it wasn't a policy before COVID, and they changed it a little bit. And they were like, I literally was still like, they hadn't even loaded the plane, nothing. And I had to drive to Billings to catch another flight, and it was horrible. So I'll have to be super early regardless. But
now, so you, Ryan, and Derek are flying out roughly in that same neck of the woods. And yeah, it's like if you missed a flight, I mean, there's no 3 or 4 flights a day to Vegas out of your airport.
I would have to drive to Billings 2 hours away, and then I would have to fly out, and that's what I had to do the one time I missed a flight. That won't happen this time. I mean, that was just one of these things where it's like I used to show up right before, and they were fine with it, and then they changed something over a course of like 12 months, and it was like it doesn't matter if there's one person in the waiting area. The terminal, it didn't matter. Like you weren't going no matter what, which stunk. But yeah, I'm leaving out the 16th, and I'm flying back the 22nd.
Okay. Now, for those so there's Chris brought up media day at the range. So for those that are not familiar, as you mentioned, on Monday. So SHOT Show is Tuesday. I guess technically SHOT Show is Monday because we have the supplier showcase, which is only Monday, Tuesday.
Correct. And I don't know about the SHOT University stuff and all of that, but there's other things that go on. Yeah. There's other things that go on other than what we primarily focus on.
Oh, and Sunday is the golf game.
True.
So I guess it's SHOT Show week, but on Monday there is a SHOT Show at the range. Actually, no, what's it called? The SHOT Show Range Day?
Industry Day at the range.
Yes.
SHOT Show Industry Day at the range, which is a lot to say, but.
And as Chris pointed out correctly, it's not actually handled by NSSF. They're just licensing the name to that. And it's basically 1,600 invited guests, which is media and big buyers. And you can actually go play with some of that stuff, and that's in Boulder City. And that's probably the highlight for me for the show. Definitely a
It's
really good experience unless it's windy, cold and windy and
oh
miserable.
god, windburn's a real thing, right? Um, yeah, up until lunch, it's media only. After lunch, the buyers, the dealer buses and stuff, start coming in. So it's going to be interesting to see that dynamic. I agree with you totally about the weather for sure, but that's why I always say that's my one chance a year to get a Chris Vector full auto fix. So I'm looking forward to it.
But I don't think we were even there last year with them. No, Chris wasn't there last
Chris
year,
was
was he?
there in 2020. Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Now I don't know that. I don't know. I don't know anything about who's going to be at range day. Um, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, and other like I said, other than Savage, being there because they're doing the first shot. Um, I don't know anybody that for certain that's going to be at range day,
Uh,
but that's an outdoor event, right?
yep.
And so you got to think more might actually be at that, and it's two separate things between them and the NSSF.
Yeah.
So technically speaking, so
Yep.
we might see some companies at Industry Day that don't actually have a booth, which would be interesting.
Yeah, and there are actually quite a few companies that I was comparing lists that they're only like, for example, your guest recently on your podcast, which was Silencer Central,
Uh-huh.
they are going to be at Media Day at the range. However, they're not going to have a shot show booth.
Right.
And
Well,
then
that crap is
Palmetto,
so expensive. It's hard for smaller companies, especially, to do both.
Isn't
It just really
Silencer
is.
Central? I could have swore was under American Outdoor brand.
No.
no, no. Silencer Central is
No.
not. You have Gemtech is part of American Outdoor Brands.
Maybe it
Correct.
was there was a. It might have been a different brand. I know that at one point there was a parent company I had a contact with. Maybe it wasn't them, but
Well, Silencer Central was like South
Those-
Dakota South Dakota silencers or something like that.
Yes.
I can't remember exactly, but one of those South Dakota, North Dakota, one of those states, it was a name dealing with that before they switched to Silencer Central. So.
And so Palmetto State Armory is going to be at both.
Yeah.
Darkstorm Industries is going to be at both. So quite a few. And actually, in CarChart just posted a list of exhibitors at, and there's a link there. Although I'm not
Nice.
sure who is going to pull out yet or not. So that's going to be interesting. So
Now
go ahead.
your online list for SHOT Show. I was going to say this for like the show itself. That gets updated pretty quick when people drop, when companies drop. Again, Industry Day, take that list with a grain of salt because I don't know what control NSS has over that, so it may not be updated as quickly.
Correct. But like I said, I would actually be really tempted to see if any of the companies that did decide to drop out of the actual SHOT Show are still going to be at Media Day at the range. That's because that's in Boulder City. It's
Requires less people.
For all intents and purposes, that's a whole different country out there. Life is
Requires
very
less people. Doesn't require all the booths set up and stuff. Yeah.
All right, so okay, we got to take the opportunity to. Crap! I highlighted the wrong comment.
Hey, yeah.
Maybe PSA will have her MP5 available to shoot. One can only hope. It's only 3 years delayed right now. But I am hearing that there's going to be some cool stuff. They're going to have a whole bunch of her new AKs. I know that for a fact.
Hey, Big Wyoming Adventures. I don't know if you're still listening, but I see your comment there.
Cool. All right, so beyond SHOT Show. So in the last week, we had Smith & Wesson announce their new CCX pistol. So that was interesting. And has anybody actually seen any details on the new cartridge that Smith is putting into their Shield EZ, which is the Federal 30 concealed carry, the 30 CCW? I can't find anything on this thing, but there was a press release from Davidson's that they're doing it.
I don't have any info.
Okay. So cartridge was, if you didn't announce it, it got leaked by a distributor. Just like the Ruger Wrangler Bird's Head Edition. All right, so that's going to be interesting. So we know that there's going to be a new caliber coming out. And you know why I'm really excited about this? Because going forward, 45 gap is not going to be the ultimate solution in search of a problem. 30 CCW is.
Yeah, I mean, amidst the ammo crisis, the ammo shortage, the influx, the increase in firearm ownership, blah 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 blah. Is that really where you want to spend your time? Is
Well,
developing some type of a new cartridge? But here's the thing: it's not a new concept for Smith and Wesson.
yes. Yep. What was the other one? 38 TCW. They
Well, the
did.
the 40 Smith and Wesson, right? I mean,
Well, there's that. Um,
so
but here's the thing, though. So I mean, it's gonna be Sammy spec by Federal, and what was the most recent Federal cartridge? Something about 224 Valkyrie.
by the way, Sammy responsible for creating the NSSF. Just useless trivia since we're talking
Interesting.
about those things. Yeah, a lot of people think NSF is over Sammy, but actually Sammy came first.
Okay. That's actually really interesting. Very, very. Okay, so cartridge. Do you know when they're supposed to announce it or what that was supposed to be? Now, so if the cartridge was leaked, so the Smith and Wesson CCX, I don't understand that pistol. I looked at it; it looks unfinished, and to me, it just basically looks like a Smith and Wesson Shield EZ, which is an internal hammer-fired pistol with an external hammer. And like, don't get me wrong, I love 1911s. I think 1911s are God's gift to Earth, but CCX, it just looks weird. I don't get it. It's like I wouldn't carry a single action pistol like we're with an exposed hammer. It's like, look, just a Glock works, or just get something similar to it. It just weird.
I've never been a Smith and Wesson centerfire autoloader fan, ever. And so my opinion on it, so putting that statement out there, you can obviously guess what my opinion on it is, right? One thing that does intrigue me, because I have long, even before it was cool, been a 10 millimeter guy, and so that M&P, if any Smith and Wesson is going to make me like a Smith and Wesson centerfire autoloader, it might just be that M&P 10 millimeter.
Yes. And like I said, 10 millimeter is cool. Now, along the same line, since we can't talk about 30 CCW, the biggest trend that I saw, so trying to schedule appointments for SHOT Show, the biggest trend that I'm seeing is all of these new Turkish companies, and like I said, new handguns made in Turkey that
Mm-hmm.
are imported by American companies. So we discussed this on the members only live streaming, kind of like my thoughts on this, and the issues that Turkish guns present in other countries. So, for instance, in Russia, they've been importing Turkish handguns for a long, long time, and there's more and more of them blowing up. And now we have more and more Turkish made handguns that are imported into the United States. So, I mean, it started all back then with SAR and the SAR K2. Then we had the Canics that came in, and those are actually decent guns.
Yeah,
But
I
like,
have it.
so the Turks, they can copy a design really, really well, but their engineering sucks. And the biggest issue, so I have a friend of mine who is a big gun YouTube channel in Russia, and he was invited to do a couple of factory tours of Turkish handgun companies. And he goes there, and he actually has a lot of engineering experience, and he was like, yep, they're producing a lot of volume, but the level of education at those companies in terms of metallurgy or actual design and engineering is subpar. And he's like, yep, now I know why all those guns that they're importing into Russia are blowing up. And now I guess like we live in a world where like we need to get a lot of bunch of cheap guns that are coming in, and we have all of these guns, and now there's going to be even more guns. Now I am going to separate that discussion from the shotguns, because Turkey has been making long guns for a long, long time, and for the most part their shotguns are actually quite decent. I just have an issue with their handguns, which in a lot of places they basically just blow up. And I remember just recently saying the it was a K2 that blew up. They had the early K2s blew up, and then there's a couple others. I think it was a TISAS, TISSAS.
Right.
Somebody posted a picture of one that blew up and like it just all over the
That's
I,
the
place.
high power,
yeah,
clone.
I have a Canic
Yes.
TP9 SFX that's been great, but I mean, trained and used Glocks for the last, I don't know, 15 years. And within the first ever shooting the Canic, I shot it way better. Like, just felt better, functioned fine, shot more accurate. Um, I don't know. I've had nothing good but a good experience with the Canic that I have, but um, I'm sure there's issues, and it might depend on which branding it is. I know Canic. I'm pretty sure it's owned by Century Arms, or they're made by Century Arms.
Century's the importer for
The
Canik. Canik is
importer.
Okay.
actually
Yeah.
one of the big ones.
Okay. So I mean, I've had a couple shotguns from there as well, but I've never. Well, I've had problems with one shotgun, but that was probably just because it was an extreme budget, model. But yeah, the Canic's been good, but I wouldn't surprise me if there's problems with the
The
stuff. But
the biggest issue that I've seen with Turkish stuff, and it's primarily started with the shotguns, particularly over and under shotguns,
Mm-hmm.
decades ago, honestly, at this point. But is kind of the fit and finish. So it's
Okay.
like they're amazing shotguns. I've got what three I think that are Turkish built Yildiz imported by Academy Sports and Outdoors. And if you take those apart, disassemble, and you polish and all of that kind of stuff, dude, they're smooth, sweet. They're awesome. But it's like you have to buy it knowing that you're getting it for a half or third the price of a Beretta or Benelli or whatever
Mm-hmm.
over under, and you're gonna have to spend a little time on it, and if you know how to do that, then it's a pretty good trade off. One thing when you talk about Century and mechanics, and I don't know the relationship there. I do know they're an importer, but I don't know what kind of control influence
Yeah.
they've got. But I can speak to EAA and Gerson, and
Mm-hmm.
everything Gerson that I have handled thus far has been super solid. But I've got a really close relationship with EAA, and they have oversight and stuff into the Gersons that they import, right? So they're paying attention to that sort of thing. So I don't know if that has an effect, if the company that's importing or bringing them over or whatever is
I
actually going to bat for us, the consumer, and going, no, 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 you got to fix this. We're not going to import these.
so with the you're saying they're the importer. I haven't done a ton of research into it, but I do know, and I maybe it's most of the guns they import they brand, but I know like or but like the Canic literally has stamped on it made Century Arms or something like that.
Hmm.
So I don't know if that changes.
I
Maybe they
think
have more of an influence over that, or is that just still they're the
I
importer?
think one of well, look at it this way. So most of the Springfield handguns, like the Springfield XD, is not actually a Springfield XD. It's a HD
Right.
SA, something like that. It was a special model that they made for them.
Yep.
Um, they slapped their name basically on it, and I think that at least the first generations of Canics that came in, they were marketed and they had a Century name to it. But once more people started discovering it, Canic actually, I think right now, also has their own import into here.
Oh,
And I think
really?
another
Hmm.
example of that is so like we were in our members only chat, we were discussing the baby desert eagles, which even like the regular, most of Desert Eagle is just a name, and all of those guns were made by They weren't made by Magnum Research. They were
Mm-hmm.
imported by Magnum
Right.
Research and slapped for the name. So Magnum Research did have They did collaborate and work with IWI on the actual Desert Eagle pistol. The Baby Desert Eagle was originally um, the IWI Jericho, which was just brought in and they slap a Baby Desert Eagle on it. Then the Baby Desert Eagle 2 was actually a Bull Armory um, Cherokee, which is the polymer one. The Desert Eagle 1911, which I think is one of my favorite 1911s for the money, that was a supposed to be a Charles Daly import, but then Magnum Research snapped it up, and that's also a Bull Armory 1911. And now both Bull Armory and IWI, they import their own guns, and that's why Magnum Research doesn't have that stuff anymore. So
Yeah.
IWI started basically with the Tavor. They didn't want to give up a large percentage to a distributor, so they set up their own affiliate in the United States, which is
Mm.
IWI USA. And Bull Armory, they were very well known for high-end 1911s and 2011s, and they, in the past year or two, started their own Bull Armory USA, and now they're importing all of their own handguns as well. And that's kind of like what Canik did to kind of stand out from the others. SAR, SAR, they were first imported by EAA. I think somebody else tried importing them, and now they have they have SAR USA.
Right.
Although I haven't seen much with them. But that's kind of like the natural progression I feel with some of them. Same thing. So like even somebody was bringing up 1911s. So 1911s. I mean, the best kept secret was the STI Spartan. And so if any gun gamers are here, they'll know. Tell me if you know what his STI Spartan actually was. Um, we'll give it 2 seconds. Two. So STI Spartans were actually 1911s made by Rock Island Armory in the Philippines, and they were brought in by STI, and then STI just fine-tuned them just a tiny little bit, and they
Yep.
made a whole bunch more money on them. And RIA actually made a lot of frames for higher-end 1911s made by STI. So RIA now also imports all of our own stuff into the country as well, and like I said, you can get some decent deals that way as well.
That's not an uncommon thing either. And when you look at over the years, you look at Uberti, Pieta, and then you look at companies like Taylor's and Company and Cimarron, those companies, and they bring in those, and then they, like you say, they tweak them. They go over the fit and finish and all of that good stuff, right? But yeah, to the point about SAR USA, the SAR 9 is, for the money, a fairly phenomenal handgun. And I've been aware with and played around with the SAR 9s and that's one of the little poly Glockish looking handguns, but for 4 years now or something like that. And I know several people that have had them that long or longer. And then there was another when you were talking about the Jericho. So yeah, what's interesting is and a lot of people don't know that the IMI Jericho, right, the older one.
Yep.
And that is not that mine anyway does not have anything other than Israeli military industries stamped on the side of it. So
exactly,
that's pretty cool.
With the Canik, I was just looking it up here. It's saying that they're, for warranty, you make a claim and you send through Century Arms or to Century Arms, so they must still be using them. But yeah, the two problems reported with that specifically are their Cerakote wears off of the slide, and then their spring can be heavy when you're using like 115s for 9mm. So sometimes it has cycling issues. I guess mine I didn't have problems with, but it does have a really heavy spring in it for sure.
A good company that and they do make things for the Canics that make a lot of spring kits and various things. I don't know if you guys are familiar with, but I'll mention them for maybe the chat out there. Galloway Precision.
Yep.
Great guys, and so if you're looking for performance style, reliability style kits and things like that, they got some pretty good stuff. And I've known those guys long before I ever made the first YouTube video.
Yeah. And they also have a bunch of stuff for tourist guns as well.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, there's definitely a lot of value in the import guns. My main concern would be, like I said, it's going to be, and what happens when something goes wrong? So is the distributor actually going to take care of the issue? Well, the importer in the country, are we actually going to take care of the issue, or are we going to take your gun and have to send it back to Turkey, and you might get your Hudson H9 back before you get it back from Turkey?
I think in general you're right. I think there's probably exceptions, but yeah, I would say, and like he was saying about the shotguns, like all of mine have functioned great, but yeah, like they're just not quite as smooth out of the box for sure in their functionality. But yeah.
So
Nice.
talking about, some of the differences, one of the things I've got to think of is, speaking of the Gerson and like the Gerson Regard. Now, I can only speak to like the Gen 3 and higher stuff. But again, I've handled those and actually own a couple. Big 92, Beretta 92 fan, and Taurus PT 92 as well. One of the things, though, that's been a complaint in the past was the barrel locking block and everything with the Beretta. There's been people that's complained about that. And what's interesting is it's different in Gerson. So you've got to, at least I ask myself, and I don't know the thinking behind it or anything else, but I've got to ask myself, did they see where that was potentially a flaw and change the design, tweak the design a little bit for those purposes? And I don't know. It remains to be seen. I've got a couple thousand maybe rounds through mine at this point, and
Mm-hmm.
they've been great. They've been solid. I put them up against Taurus for sure, and they run a really really close. I mean, if you couldn't see the branding on the side, didn't know what you were shooting on any given day, you would probably pick the Gerson over a Beretta.
So Carter had a comment. I love his M9A3. I think the M9A3 is one of the. I was never a huge fan. I learned to shoot on a Beretta 92 FS, and I was like never really a huge fan of it until I moved to a free state, and now it can have suppressors. The M9A3 is a fantastic suppressor host, and it comes with a really cool box. So that's why I love that. Although M9A4 is a little bit of a weird one, I'm not really crazy about that because that gun was never designed to be run with an optic to begin
Do,
with. But yeah.
do you guys have Sportsman's Warehouse by you?
We just got one. So we just had
Okay.
the first Sportsman Warehouse opened up, I'd say about an hour away. I love Sportsman Warehouse. When I went out to Colorado, I stopped by them and like it was such a night and day difference in experience between
Mm-hmm.
a Cabela's and a Bass Pro and a
Mm-hmm.
Sportsman Warehouse. Sportsman Warehouse was actually quite nice.
It's mainstream in Wyoming, Montana, from what I understand. I mean, like it's definitely they're the outdoor store to go to, pretty much. They're pushing Canic really hard. That's why I've been so like seen so many of them because I know they're pushing them pretty hard. But um, they're a good company. Sportsman's Warehouse is a good company.
for now. But
Yeah.
they are being acquired by Cabela's and Bass Pro. Well, Bass Pro, which ruined Cabela's, and they might just ruin
Mm-hmm.
Sportsman Warehouse as well. So, Chris, here's a question for you from another Chris. SHOT Show needs to move to Florida. Now, SHOT Show has been in Florida. Did you go to a SHOT Show in Orlando or no?
I've never been any other place for shot than Vegas,
Okay.
and I think my opinion is that a lot of people want it to go back to the way it was, where it traveled around. I think that poses, as the industry grows, as more and more companies come on board, whatever the case may be, I think that creates an inconsistency. You got to
Yep.
realize a lot of these companies house their booths in storage in Vegas. So if it traveled, they would have to have multiple booths, or they would have to move that booth around. And the booths are expensive, so any
Oh
damage
yeah.
they have is a problem, and moving them is problematic cost wise and other things. Um, and I think for just making plans in general, for anybody that attends to travel, Vegas is one of the. If you're a creator out there thinking I can't go to the shot show, I can't afford it. Vegas is one of the cheapest places to travel to and get around in once you're there. I mean,
Yep.
you can go high end if you want, but you don't have to. And then the other thing is, I think Vegas offers the support facilities, right? The venue, the restaurants, the lodging, the everything else to house, like you said, in 2020, 60,000 attendees. That's on top of everybody else normally in
Yep.
the city, right?
Yep.
And so you've got all that traffic, you got all this stuff. Vegas is a tourist town. It is a show town. That's just kind of what
Yep.
it's, in my opinion, what it's set up for. And so I think that's why we continue to see it there.
So this is actually great that this question was brought up because I mean I get asked this quite often. What most people don't realize is prior to moving into firearms, I'm still involved on the financial side quite a bit, and I actually helped organize an industry event for private real estate investments, and our show was small by comparison. It was only 3,000 people. What most people don't realize is that when you have a show the size of SHOT Show, there's really only 5 places in the country where you can host it. And then when we take into consideration that it's guns, that's only going to bring it down to 3 places in the country where you can have it. So those places are Las Vegas, Dallas Fort Worth, Orlando, New York City, and then LA and San Fran. Because it's guns, we have to drop New York City and we have to drop LA and San Francisco. Um, there's basically 3 things that are required to host a show that large. Number one is going to be hosting enough conference space. So SHOT Show this year, I believe it's 817,000 square feet of conference space. You're not going to get that in the middle of Omaha or any place else like that. You're not going to be able to get that much conference space. As Chris pointed out correctly, the other thing that you have to consider is going to be the hotel space. If SHOT Show, let's say for example, I mean like Nashville or like for NRA, if you have a week where all of a sudden you now have 60 to 80,000 people flying in for a show, you're not number one, the hotel rates are going to go through the roof, and we saw that with NRA, where a cheap shitty hotel, sorry for the profanity, was 400 a night or something ridiculous like that. Meanwhile, the most I ever paid for a hotel room in Las Vegas during SHOT Show week was like 85 bucks or something like that, and that was staying on the strip at one of the bigger properties, or let's say for example if somebody rents a house. um, and then number 3 is you need to have enough direct flights. So
Yes.
even if you live out like okay like Mr. Steven Bullets for Bucks or Ryan, if you're in middle of nowhere in one of those big square states, which I really would love living in, um, you're not going to have a direct flight, let's say, to Omaha or I don't know, like even like San Antonio or something like that. But
Though, yeah.
you're going to have a direct flight to Vegas. If you're going to have a direct flight somewhere, it's going to be you're going to have a lot more connections into Vegas, and if you go one stop or direct, you need to have those. So literally, that's only going to be down to 3 cities. You can have SHOT Show in Las Vegas, Dallas Fort Worth, and Orlando. They had the show in Orlando before, and it was held at, I think it was actually close to a Disney property, until some soccer moms started complaining that there are people walking around with camo scaring the children. Um, and they decided to basically bring it back to Vegas.
Yeah.
But in either case, for the next 3 or 4 years, we have all the contracts and everything signed for Las Vegas. But here's the thing, though. I mean, like, and Chris and I have talked about this in person. Look, if you're a content creator, you need to go to SHOT Show, and really, because it's in Vegas, you have absolutely zero excuses not to go. So
Yeah.
our cost, so from the East Coast, so from Philly, my airfare round trip was $93. I lied, $91. Nonstop round trip out of Philadelphia. Our housing per person, I think Nick correct me, it was $235. And much like Chris, you guys did, we did a house. We rented a house on Airbnb and split it between 4 content creators. It came out to like 235 for the week or something like that. So
Yep.
all in airfare and hotel, um, 300 bucks. And then our share of, you don't need to rent a car, but we like renting a car because there's all you can eat sushi off the strip. Um, that's going to be an additional maybe like 85 bucks per person. So even if you budget 800 to 1,000 bucks, the cost of a general rifle, you can be in Vegas for the entire week. And then if you want to completely cheap out on dinners and stuff, you only really need to buy one meal, because if you're media, in the media room every single day, you have free breakfast. Towards the afternoon, you have happy hour with hors d'oeuvres. Then you have some after shot show parties. Um, or you can basically eat at the buffet. So even at the buffet, even if you say $20 a day for dinner, I mean, that's an extra $100. I mean, like, you don't have to spend a lot of money, and you can't necessarily get that anywhere else because, like I said, Disney or DFW hotels in Dallas are actually fairly expensive. It would be literally 2 or 3 times as expensive to do it. So yeah, we do have friends who are not making it out to SHOT Show because it's too expensive, but we'd rather go to some tiny little show. No excuses. You have
Yeah,
zero freaking
I,
excuses or sympathy for me.
I think like logistically and cost wise, there isn't any other spot as good. Of course, I'd rather have it in Texas or Florida so I could hunt afterwards or beforehand, but that's just me. But yeah, I mean, normally flights out of Sheridan where I'm at are super expensive. I did get my travel stuff paid for way before prices went back up. They've probably doubled literally since then, or maybe tripled. But I got a hotel, rental vehicle, and the flight for all, well, Sunday to Sunday or Sunday to Saturday, excuse me, for like $900, $1,000. Like the entire thing was like, I think with taxes and everything was like just over 1,000, but right around $1,000, which is kind of insane, especially considering I'm flying out of a tiny airport
Yeah.
that normally it could be that much just for a ticket. I do have to fly to Denver and then from Denver over, like, or either that or Salt Lake. So the only airport my airport will fly to is literally like Denver, I think. So, but
Wow.
yeah, so but yeah,
Well,
crazy affordable.
inside baseball a little bit on the DFW area. I mean, the FW, which is Fort Worth, Dallas Fort Worth, but the FW, something like SHOT Show, it absolutely does not have the infrastructure. No way, no how, not even freaking
Okay.
close. Now, USCCA, I hear, has booked like a 5-year booking at that venue for USCCA there. But for the size of that show, I was blown away at how small it was myself. So just spoiler alert, if you're planning on going that, not telling you not to go because that can have its benefits too, being a smaller show. But as far as Dallas, NRA, the NRA annual meeting has been there before, and holy jeez, man, we're talking about the NRA annual meeting, and it was a madhouse there. It was insane. So you're talking about something that's shot, which is, I mean, how many times would you say bigger? 8? I don't even know,
Probably.
but massive compared to that. So I don't even think, while you're right that I think on paper it does have the infrastructure and everything it needs. I
Okay.
don't think realistically, I don't think it's an option.
Yeah, Alex, and we had, like I said, so even for our conference, which was 3,000 people, it was literally between Vegas and Orlando. Dallas was great because it has a lot of good connections, and it has a lot of direct flights. But I mean, it's still a little bit on the more expensive side to host it.
Well, and
But
you got multiple big airports too, because
yeah,
see, Southwest flies out of Love, and then everything else out of
yep.
DFW. So you got two fairly major airport hubs, I guess you would call them there.
Yeah, but like I said, I mean, even out of so like even flights, maybe like you can't get even cheaper than flying into Vegas. I mean, like it's just there's so many flights, there's so many connections, you have so many hotel rooms, and I mean one of the biggest reasons to go to SHOT Show, except last year and this year, um, it ran concurrent with the AVNs, which is Adult Video News Awards, aka the porn convention, which ran at the same time. And if you weren't into half naked people running around your hotel, there is also the Concrete Convention, which goes on at the same time, which is also a bigger show.
Well, and that you make a great point here that I think other people don't think about, right? Is you've got the concrete deal is huge, and then
Hmm.
obviously you got the ABNs. So you have a weekend in a city where 3 major industry shows are going on, right, at the same freaking time, and it's like, take those other cities you're talking about. Can you do that in
Well,
any of those other cities? And I
you
don't
got
I don't know that you can.
you got the SCI convention this year too at the same
Correct.
time.
Hmm.
So from a hunter guns perspective, that's pretty much perfect. I'm still not sure if I'm going to attend it, but I probably will. I haven't got, unfortunately, the person at the contact is probably swamped with
Yeah.
getting back with me, but oh well.
And so, and out of our group, so it's interesting. So I have my Jersey Tri-State people group, and we have our content creator friends. Our Jersey group is all about the AVN, and it's literally it would be a shot show for Tuesday, Wednesday. That's it, and then Thursday, Friday they're at AVN. Yeah, it is a big part of going. And yeah, so Concrete Convention, I believe, was actually even bigger than SHOT Show, just slightly. Like I said, you have
Correct.
all of these shows, and then there's the Morticians Convention, which is at the same time. Uh, Now, those people were a little bit of a bore. Um,
Yeah, I can imagine. A little bit morbid too, right?
I have
just
a
the-
relative that was a mortician. I don't really know him though, or through marriage, I guess.
My grandmother did. Of course, small area that I live in, everything else. I mean, I know the funeral homes and whatnot pretty well, but my grandmother actually she was a beautician, did hair, did hair and stuff. But she actually did work for all of the nursing homes doing the hair of the deceased, and I always thought that was really weird that you give the deceased a haircut for their. But I mean, I guess if you're all shaggy and you pass away, you got to look good in the casket. So why not? But I've always thought that was really weird when you tell those stories.
and there's basically the joke of it. Heard the Morticians Convention was pretty dead.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Um, okay, so here's the actual gun question. What's up with FN not making the 502? I'll have to remind me which was is that the new 22? So I don't have a bunch of friends at FN. So
It's
I
that's the 20 tactical 22 pistol.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that's the new. Okay,
So,
I don't know.
yeah, I have no idea. I'm mostly a bolt action guy and a hunter. So
Okay, so let me actually go back for some of these comments.
It's a
'Cause there's
little it's a little too technical for my tactical for my taste. So
I seen Alaskan Ballistics was on here. Howdy. I don't know.
Sign me up for Morticians Convention. You could have gotten up. These comments are like going too quick. You guys need to sneak into the Concrete Convention and get some Makita swag. So okay, so here's the question. So this is first year for Steven, but Chris, you've been going for how many years now?
We lose him. I don't
Possibly.
hear him.
All right,
Right.
so here's a question. And I wish Alex was here or Karchar came on. But one of the big reasons people want to go to SHOT Show is all of the SHOT Show swag.
yeah, baby.
Nope. There you
Chris, are you a swag whore, or
Yeah,
do you basically?
absolutely.
All right, you
Absolutely.
answer that question.
So yeah, but I mean, it's for a point. First of all, I love patches. And so I definitely want stuff for my patch wall. But don't get me wrong. I mean, unless it's a situation like late in the day Friday 2020 with PSA, where they were literally giving people bags of patches because I will usually visit booths. If I walk by a booth, I'll grab a patch or two,
Yeah.
or maybe three. If I'm talking with somebody, I'll actually mention, hey, can I pick up more than one? Because I want my personal, and then, I give them away through Patreon giveaways, through different things, throughout the year, I'll give them away. What's interesting is, like, after SHOT Show's over, like the next week, jump on eBay because people pick up the patches and stuff and even the stickers,
Really?
and then
Wow.
they put them in lots and sell them on eBay. Now, I don't subscribe to that. I don't like that, but I definitely pick it up, and it's not really that I'm a patch whore or anything, or swag whore or anything like that. But I want my patch, and then I want stuff to be able to give away. So,
Yeah.
but I don't go. Some people, they'll empty their bag, and then they'll spend all day just running around getting swag. And I don't do that. I usually just pick it up on the fly, on the go as I pass by. I don't waste a lot of time on it.
Yeah.
I-
So two things on patches. So one of them is there's some companies that they won't place them right on top of the booth. You got to talk to them and ask them nicely for the good stuff,
Mhm.
aka hats, or the nice patches or the limited edition patches.
Yep.
Um, but so the first couple of years, so I've been going for SHOT Show over the last 13 or 14 years, and I went at least 10 out of those 14 years.
Mhm.
Um, the first couple of times you go there, there's like it's overwhelming and there's like so much swag. I would bring back bags of it. The last couple of years, you go up to the booth and you'd have a meeting and like they'd hand you something and I'm like, no, here we go, I don't need it, and like they almost feel insulted. I'm like, I don't need to bring this crap back with me because it's like, and especially now if you're paying for carry-ons or extra luggage, or it's like, especially if it's like there's some companies that would actually give a demo of ammo or like gun parts, and I'm like, crap, now I
Yeah.
got to declare this stuff, or like it's like I'm gonna go for a TSA pre-check and like I'm gonna have issues with this stuff.
Yep.
uh, but one of our friends, Mr. Karchuk, I mean, he was a whore. I mean, he's like, there's pictures of him. I'm not gonna share it here. Actually, Nick, can I share it? No, I can't share it. Can I share that picture? Let me know, and I will. So last year, um, actually, was it last year? Or was it the year before? No, because Alex, I think, went earlier. That we stayed for an extra day or two, but we shared a room at the Sahara. Okay. Can you send me that pic on Discord, and then I'm gonna put it up here and then share my screen. Um, so okay, 2020. So it was last time. So like there's so much swag, and then like, but the king of it, I don't know. It's like, I guess, a king of hats. Alex, Affordable Optics and Rifle Reviews. He went with us last year, and he picked up, I think it was like 15 or 20 hats that he got from companies. So this year there's a contest between him, Derek, and Card Shark on who can get the most hats.
Nice.
I'm not
Nice.
gonna go
So,
after him like crazy, but I'll take him because I'm, balding.
pro tip, for those that do that and you fly or you whatever, if you're staying over a day or whatever the case may be, priority mailboxes,
Yes.
pack them full, ship them home. The last several years we've drove, and one of the reasons is you made a good point. Now, firearms, all those are disabled. You're not going to take a firearm or ammunition really home, but I've taken projectiles home. I was loaded down with target swag, and had we had a rental big enough to fit like battery operated big trap machines, this company would have sent me home with trap machines. But they sent me home with all kinds of other, what am I thinking? Dueling trees and all kinds of other stuff. We had that little rental car, I mean, packed to the
That
gills.
looks like
So,
a good flat rate shipping box right there. That's what that looks.
So I'm sharing on the screen. This was Card Shark's 4 day haul, um, of swag. Now, Card Shark, was this after you sent that priority mail box to Shooting Gallery New England, or was that before? And this is how he's preparing this time. Yep, I'm printing out a couple of prepaid labels for
Oh
medium
my
flat rate
gosh!
boxes for shipping.
Oh my
yep,
gosh!
yep, yeah. That's a pretty decent haul. It's not bad. I'm not gonna knock it, but I've seen hauls way bigger than that.
Oh, like, here's the thing. Like, if you go to SHOT Show with the purpose of getting swag, oh, it's like there's
So
so much stuff.
So I wonder, and that's going to be part of what you hit on very early on with this chat, and about experiencing the show and what's it going to be like with cough cough, and people touching things and everything else. I kind of wonder how much swag is going to be sitting around, whatever transferred, traded, that sort of thing.
That'll be interesting.
I bet
I
it'll be
still,
less, but there's more
I think
vendors,
that,
right?
I think swag per person, there's gonna end up being more.
I think so.
But
Yeah.
you know what? I think the people who are gonna go to SHOT Show, they're not gonna give a rat's behind about a cold.
uh
I don't think they are. Um,
I don't think so either.
I mean, look, it's like we're not making out with other SHOT Show attendees at SHOT Show. Now, what you do at after SHOT Show parties is a whole
Well,
different story.
I don't know, man. I don't know what goes on in the bathrooms there sometimes. I don't, but yeah, I hear you. So, talking about that, talking about neat swag and other things. Did you ever get the SHOT Show crud and then the SHOT Show cure patches?
No.
I don't remember who had them or what year, but there's sometimes there's some fun games that companies play with patches,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
one of them had the SHOT Show crud. They were giving it out, and I thought it was pretty cool. It was this little cartoon virus looking thing, and it said SHOT Show crud. And when they gave it to me, they were like, "Yeah, now you just gotta walk around. There's another company here that has the cure, and theirs looked like a little peel, like a little capsule, two
Oh
color
wow.
capsule, and it said SHOT Show cure."
Now,
So it was pretty neat.
now one year, and I think it was 2018 or 19. Now, hold on, Card Shark. How many years did we? This is going to be your third show, correct? In which case, we went 19 and 20. So 18. 2018, I went with a different friend of mine and former military guy, really, really nice guy. Um, we went there, and he is like, he has a hard on for Knights Armament. Completely loved it. And I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, we got to go to the Knights booth. We got to go to the Knights booth. I'm like, why? He's like, oh, we got the super secret stuff. I'm like, okay, interesting. So like, we go there, and he starts talking to him, and he's like, oh, like, do you have any swag or do you have any stuff? And I'm like, no. He's like, how about the good stuff? So the guy reaches in under the counter and he hands him a couple of limited edition patches from Knights Armament. So if you're a Knights fan, they do have those stuff.
Nice.
But yeah, like I said, you have like I said, a lot of the companies are afraid. I guess we're already going into swag whoring 101. Yes, you can actually go across table to table, and they'll just have stuff on top of the table. And but a lot of the bigger companies, or like if they have like really good stuff, they're not gonna just leave it on the table unless they're just trying to get rid of it all at the end.
Yep.
So you actually got to talk to them and say, talk to them, get to know a little bit about the product, and then you can ask them for the good stuff. Now,
Another.
I was the one I'm really bummed about, that I guess the one cancellation is going to be Safariland if we're not attending, and the reason why is, what's the best thing that Safariland gives away? Come on, the Peanut Gallery will know. Or Chris, do you know?
No, I don't know that I've ever even visited the Safariland booth.
So Safariland, there we go. So Safariland hands out 40% off discount codes. So sometimes they give them at the counter. Sometimes you got to ask for them. But they're cards, and they're good for the entire year. It gives you 40% off anything that Safariland sells. Holsters, race holsters, a lot of her like pouches, all of her Gucci stuff. One of the best things.
So they basically hand out their military and law enforcement discount.
Yeah.
I suppose so.
Pretty much.
So does anybody else, with talking about picking up swag, does anybody else ever engage in any patch trading while they're at SHOT Show?
Ooh.
That's a good way. If you see somebody walking around and they happen to have a handful of patches or something, right, that they picked up, that's a good way to pick up some patches without having to go to that particular booth, right? If it's something that I really don't have any reason to go to that booth. And so a lot of times I will hit somebody up and I'll go, hey, what do you got there? You want to do some swapping? And they'll show me what they got, and I show them what I got in my bag. Of course, I bring a lot of my own patches, and quite often I'll trade one of my own patches for something they got that there's not any anymore. So like Ghost, one of the ones that are have been real super popular over the year is it Ghost Firearms or Ghost Arms or something like that. I can't believe I can't think of the name of it. No, they're a AR It's an AR custom AR company.
Okay, I don't.
And I
I
can't
don't
remember
know.
the name of it. But anyway, every year they do like a cartoon theme. So they have a slutty Wendy's girl. I've got a Kentucky Colonel Sanders Kentucky Fried Chicken. I got a Flintstones patch, and they're all like tacked out looking, but it's like cartoon characters, like whatever popular culture or whatever. And they run out of those quick. So that's usually one of the first booths I hit if they're there. And they always want some of my patches, so I'll usually trade them. But if for some reason I can't make it, I will usually try to hit up somebody that's already gotten patches, and that's one I usually try to swap for because they're super cool.
So Carter, Gray Ghost Precision.
No,
Okay.
no, it's Ghost Grid. Ghost Grid.
Yeah, there's grid defense that makes
Yeah,
ghost
grid defense.
rifles.
Yeah. Grid defense.
Okay.
Yeah. Grid defense. Yeah.
Write that down. All right. So before I forget, there's two comments. Big Al. Yes, there is a closer to like Doylestown area. There's a new Sportsman Warehouse that just opened up right before Black Friday. And then somebody told me to check my Instagram. Yes, I will do that. It was Denver Cyclist. He told me to do that. Nick says noted. Now, my first stop usually is the Condor booth because you get. Come on, Chris, you know this one. What does Condor hand out at SHOT Show like it's crack candy?
Do we lose him again?
Or is he thinking?
No, I'm muted. I'm just talking to
Okay.
myself. So, no,
What
I
is
don't go to the I don't go to the Condor booth either, man. So I don't know.
Wow. So Condor. So when you go to SHOT Show, obviously you need a way to hold all of your swag,
The
and
bags. The
there you
bags.
go. So
Okay.
at most of those booths, they'll have like plastic bags and stuff. But like the first year I went, like I'm like, where are all these people having these nice messenger bags? Condor. So when you walk in, Condor has every year they have a different design for bags. And hold on, Nick just sent me another picture. Might be able to share. There. Okay, so every year I thought it was going to be a picture of a bag. So every year Condor has a little bit of a different design, but these are really nice messenger bags.
I'm not seeing
We don't
anything on
see
the
it.
screen.
We don't see your
I'm
picture.
I'm about to share it.
Okay.
No, it's like he sent me the picture, and then I was stunned by it. I think
He's gonna sell them on eBay. I'm just kidding.
probably. Well, you know what?
Yeah.
You know what I was like really blown away. So like those stupid HK stickers are like going for like $4 a piece, and meanwhile I have like a whole big stack of HK stickers,
Mhm.
which
Right.
were handed out at one of the. I was a sponsor coordinator for a USPSA area match, and they sent a whole bunch of stuff, and like one of them was for stickers. And within the USPSA shooting circles, no one gave a crap about HK, especially because it was before the VP9. All right, so ta-da!
Nice.
So
I've actually
the-
got a couple of the camo ones. The woodland camo. I've actually got a couple of those.
So I
yeah.
think this is the number of bags he picked up in 1 year, because they had that and the camo at the same time.
So another pro tip here, and whether it's these bags or anything else. So the booths that do have the stuff just sitting out. There's so many people typically that walk through. It's like if you're walking through there, grab one, and then 10 minutes later, if you're headed back the other direction or whatever, grab another one. Why not? Do we ever do knives or multi tools?
I generally don't visit the cutlery department at SHOT Show.
I'm planning on trying to hit up Havilon Knives, which is a replaceable blade company specifically designed for hunting, and that's
Okay.
that's pretty much the only one that I have that I really want to hit up because I use their knives every time I harvest an animal. So I'm kind of a personal fan of their knives.
I will. Of course, they show to be canceled for this year, but I'll usually go over to Gerber.
Okay.
I really like the mini multi tools that they do. I think I've got every single one, so I'm always looking for one I don't have or whatever. And it's not really to cover anything; it's just for my own knowledge. Like, hey, if they put something out that I missed, right?
Yeah, I'm a fan of Gerber. They also make the Big Game Vital. I don't know if we have any hunters that are actually listening, but Big Game Vital is almost like a Havilon. It's just a little bit different take on a replaceable blade hunting knife. And they're good knives as well.
Yeah, so I mean, Nick had a couple of comments. So yeah, there's definitely a good amount of knives and blades at SHOT Show. Um,
Yep.
so I'll browse through generally, but I don't spend a lot of time because most of them are. So SHOT Show is kind of like set up. It's split up where you have the hunting and outdoors clothing people in one side, then you have the tactical crowd, and then downstairs is just a mix of a whole bunch of smaller vendors. Knives wise, I actually have a couple of really nice Benchmade before they started chopping up guns, and then actually like for cheaper ones, I like SOG. I don't have any nice cheap knives.
Yeah.
But I do. I probably should make some time to go visit some shows, or I can send somebody out. Uh, Ravencrest. Don't know if we're making an appearance or not, but if you happen to see, check out Ravencrest and Cutlery. So Drew, he was here earlier. He's one of our channel fans and subscribers. He told me we should go visit Microtech, and he knows somebody, so we can name drop somebody to Microtech. And I know Microtech does do a bunch of knives. There, crap. There we go. Wait, hold on. Dang it, I'm missing, like, these comments. I'm, like, selecting, yeah, there we go.
I'm not a Microtech fan. I'm not a fan of most of the OTFs for whatever reason. I'm not a knife snob, because I'm really not into them enough, to be honest with you. But I am a knife snob when it comes to like the blade profile.
Mm-hmm.
There's just something about that to me that is like, that's just ugly as sin, and I don't want it.
Yeah.
And so I pay close particular, or particularly pay close attention to that. And the most of the OTFs, and it's not just Microtech, the knockoffs seem to be the same way. Just not a fan of the blade profiles on those.
Yeah, I tend to use the replaceable blade knives specifically for hunting because they're so good for like skinning and quartering animals. And then when it comes to personal use, I kind of just use whatever. I did get, and you can probably laugh at me. I got a Spirit Deed
Steven,
knife.
hold on. Steven, I'm going to cut you off for a second there.
Okay.
If you guys are interested in anything big game, or if you're hunting, obviously you subscribe to Steven's channel. Also, make sure to check out Alaskan Ballistics. Big friend of the channel. Really, really, really nice guy, knowledgeable in that regard. Thank you for coming on and participating today, bud. And guys, make sure subscribe to Alaskan Ballistics. And I'll leave that here, and then I will shut up again.
Good. Yeah, I got a Japanese made knife off of Amazon, but it was like a Damascus blade, and it's the most expensive knife I've got. It was, I don't know, it's made to look pretty, put it that way. It has like seashell and laid in the handle and stuff. But generally, I'm not really a knife guy or into knives that much. I will try to get some hunting gear, like SHOT Show booth videos, maybe more than some of the other creators, not to take away from them, but I'm going to try and hit some of those up.
It's definitely an undercovered topic. And here's actually, this is a great segue. And like we kind of mentioned this a little bit. Yes, on one hand, it sucks that there's going to be a bunch of bigger companies that are not attending. But interestingly, I didn't have many of them on my calendar for main part of the day, as I was going to go visit them at Media Day. But what is this going to leave more time, and what are you guys going to try to focus on while at SHOT Show? And I guess more now than in prior years.
Go ahead.
Well, go ahead. I've never gone before, but I'm going basically purely for business purposes. Like I said, I'll try to hit up some of the hunting brands and things that are hunting related. But for the most part, I'm planning on pretty much doing whatever you're doing, SlavGuns, to begin with the first like couple days,
Right.
Like we'd kind of talked about a little bit. But apart from that, I will break off and I'll do like hunting related products and go in there for business purposes. That's kind of my story.
So it's your first year, Bucks?
Yep. Yeah,
Oh,
I've
okay.
never gone.
Okay. So pro tip times two, because I had this conversation with actually Rogue earlier today.
Yes.
So you can check bags in the media room. So having two bags, one you can leave in the media room to dump into, is nice because the less weight and everything you haul around, the better. I remember, several SHOT Shows back, or at least a couple, some new guys going that had these huge camera rigs with microphones, and I'm like, you know what? You are going to be wanting to throw that thing out in traffic by the time SHOT Show's over, And sure enough, they did. So pack
Mhm.
light,
Yeah,
for
I'm
sure,
planning.
and the second thing is, know going into it your first time, you're going to be overwhelmed. So be prepared for that. That way, it's not, you don't have shock on top of being overwhelmed. So just know
But
that
I don't think you can prepare yourself for it. I mean, like even if you tell somebody it's huge, it's a
well, but
it's a huge.
at least you expect it, right? You know,
Yeah,
people have told you that, so at least you're looking for it, and it doesn't blindside you.
yeah. But it's still like so much. It's so much awe of just like all that stuff that's there, and like it's actually interesting. So I'm not sure how you usually go into SHOT Show. So we go through the main entrance, and then we go through the military, like the not the tactical
Hmm.
on the second floor, the tactical room, which
Right.
has like it's the low hanging, it's the low ceilings and all that stuff. So you bring first timers into there, and like yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. You're like, yeah, you're like you know what, like it's there's a bunch of booths in here. Is this really it? And then you walk them through towards the back where it opens onto the main show floor, and
Right.
that's when the jaws just drop.
Right. Or the dog leg downstairs.
Yes.
So downstairs, you walk in and you walk that thing, and you don't realize that there's a section half as big as what you just walked through, kind of stuffed off in a corner over
Oh
there.
yeah.
That if you're not, if you don't know it's there, it makes kind of an L shape or something, bottom floor. And a lot of people don't realize that corner. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So like I said, for me, I am taking this opportunity. I've been playing with this in my hand. Gonna spend more time, and I think I have four or five appointments confirmed, and then a bunch more that I want to try to make sure I visit is going to be suppressors. So now that I can legally hold them, um, I am going to be taking a bigger interest in it, and especially now with the new e-form system. So now that we hopefully won't have to wait a year to get one, and hopefully it'll get the time down to 90 days or less, I think there's going to be massive growth in suppressors. Um, so I am going to be spending a little bit of time on that once again, thanks to the bigger companies dropping out from SHOT Show.
Yep.
And my tip of the day would be uh, bring comfortable shoes.
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt.
Okay. So there's a question for find me a 22 can. So I am hopefully before SHOT Show, I will have two 22 cans that are going to be coming out of ATF jail. We have an Odinworks NAV 22, which is a phenomenal little can, and a Yankee Hill Stinger 22. Yankee Hill. Oh, I forgot to add Yankee Hill to the list. See, that's what happens.
Yankee Hill's an old school company that doesn't get much comment press anymore.
It's time. Like I see lead falling out of my suppressor onto the laptop. I guess it's time to clean the can.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so Yankee Hill has the Stinger 22, which is really nice, and we have the new one, which is the Phantom 22. But for the money, it's very, very tough to beat them. Okay, here we go. Here we go. I totally did not talk about this, but yes, the Russian AK girls are by far the best swag at SHOT Show. So the other thing that you find at SHOT Show is that a lot of these companies are going to hire models to stand there and look pretty, but CAA and Kalashnikov USA, they generally have the best looking girls there. And these are people who work for Kalashnikov or who are hired by Kalashnikov to look pretty in Russia, and they bring them here to the shows. And they just stand there to look like Russian dolls. and they hold AKs in their hands. And it's always weird. Like I don't really approach them because like to me they're just like Russian chicks, and like it always sometimes freaks them out if you just go up to them and talk to them in Russian. The other ones I would say, and I think honestly the ones I would prefer, because I like the bottom, not the skinny twigs. I like the Israeli companies and the Israeli girls. Those are usually quite nice as well. So that's FAB. Who else? What other Israeli? IWI doesn't have Israeli models there, but you'll have a bunch of them walking around there. But I don't think I've ever seen Italian models there. Okay, so somebody else who's been attending. All right, Corey. Um, there is a picture. I think Nick also has it of when we were at SHOT Show Media Day at the range. We were at the Silent Legion booth. Yeah, because it was Silent Legion, not OSS. Where an Israeli girl from FAB came up to shoot the Silent Legion can on a 338, and I think it wasn't a Desert Tech, but it was something else. And somebody has a picture of it, and I can't find it. I don't think it was on my phone, but there was a very, very nice picture of those assets. I mean, they were really nice assets. I mean, it was tough to go wrong with those. But I guess along the same lines, some of these companies they do have after SHOT Show parties where they literally hire strippers to go to their party. Um, okay, somebody put a link to our Discord, but it's slav.li/Discord. And Denver Cyclist, thanks for joining. This is actually the first time I'm seeing you on here on our chats.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember if he's commented on my stuff before or not. I guess if he has now, I feel bad, but I shared the link on a bunch of places, so maybe I don't know.
Oh,
Great.
awesome. Well, thank you. Chris, so are you into the after party scene?
Yeah, not a lot going on this year. Doesn't appear. Well, and I say that. Here's my thing with what I think of this year. So with the climate and everything going on, right? I think that, and I think it's indicative because or maybe an identifier might be the companies that have dropped but are not putting out public word, right? So I think there may be some after events. It's just you need to be there in the booth asking or have that particular
Yep.
contact tech to know. So once we get there, there may be some. But yeah, some of the best conversations, collabs, you know, work with Wargaming 2A and whatever has happened at after parties for sure. So that's amazing. The nightlife, so to speak, is a good part of it. It's you're winding down, you're relaxed, but at the same time you're still able to kind of get some business done as well. So it's pretty cool.
Okay, I'm getting confused by some of the comments. Okay, here we go. An actual gun question. Forgive me, but with the climate from a geopolitical standpoint, what cartridge that is not 5.56 or 223 would you stockpile or mass load or reload for? And I have a suspicion I know what CloverTech is going to say. And if I had to guess, oh, this is tough. All right, so before you guys answer this, I'm going to write down my predictions on this piece of paper. Okay. All right.
People are predicting on the.
Oh,
nice.
I guess you might possibly say the same thing. All right, I'm gonna go with the same thing, but there might be. I'll have a second choice for bullets for bucks. All right, here we go. I'm ready.
Cool.
Chris, go ahead.
So he says cartridge. That rules out 12 gauge. um, so I'm going to say 22 long rifle. And I think that's pretty obvious. But I'll throw in a backup at 300 blackout.
Oh, okay. All right, Steven.
And it has to be. He didn't really specify. I guess he's talking rifle, huh? Not pistol. But, I mean, for pistol, I'd go 9mm. But
Okay.
for rifle, man, that's a tricky one though, because I come at it from a weird standpoint.
Yes. Don't disappoint me.
I'm still going 22 at pistol. I would use 9 as probably as a backup, but I'm still going 22.
You're going 22. Like if warfare broke out, is that what we're?
Well, here, if the zombies or war
If the
or
zombies,
whatever.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna go with 22. Everybody else is. You know what I mean? Like, and it is kind of light. So, man, that's a tough one. I might go 308. I don't.
So close.
You're probably thinking 6.5 Creedmoor, aren't you?
I was gonna think that first, but I did not go with 6.5 Creedmoor because it's a logical choice, and it's not one of your favorite calibers.
Well, it used to be. I still like it. Like, it would be hard. It could be between those two for me, because like, and from a personal standpoint, I have 3 or 4 6.5 Creedmoors already. So like from a personal standpoint, it makes sense. But, yeah, I don't. If you're looking at Magnum, I like 300 Win Mag, but
yes!
I don't. I wouldn't pick that though for like the purposes of the question I think they're asking. I don't think I'd pick that. But from a
so here's the thing, Clover Tech was easy, but for like I was gonna write 6.5 Creedmoor. The logical choice is you're gonna go with 22 long rifle, but Steven would go 300 Win Mag after thinking about 6.5 Creedmoor.
Yeah, I think 308 would be actually good. I think 6.5 Creedmoor could be. I think 308 would probably actually be one of the better choices out of the three I mentioned. Like if I didn't already own guns and other calibers more so, but or you know what I'm saying. I like something more heavy hitting than 22. So
I don't know if anybody else out there has ever done this or not, but I was 300 blackout before it was ever cool. Maybe one of the first people in Texas to ever have one in an AR platform. It was once called 300 Whisper, essentially the same exact thing. But if nobody has ever done it, I've actually created, which it's silly to say you did this because you could just have one or the other as far as the cartridge and not have to worry about building anything or making anything. But I actually can make accurate, fireable, usable 300 blackout ammo with a 223 and a 308 without using any electricity. And I've done it just to say I can do it, which is pretty cool.
I know some of you cast their own 300 blackout bullets, but I
cast my subs.
Like, this question is like, are we talking about actually going to some sort of warfare? Are we going about survival? Like, we're going to be hunting animals and we might be defending ourselves. Are we going to, you know what I mean? Like, that's a loaded question, I feel like.
I would say here, even to make it simple, I mean, you can strike out the climate from a geopolitical standpoint, because I think as a gun owner, you need to be prepared. And I think 22, and I'm sure Chris would probably agree with me coming from the same standpoint, 22 is very versatile, whether you're going for critters or you just want to put some food on your table, but it's also the only cartridge that you can't load yourself, and in terms of how many times you can pull the trigger versus the weight, it's going to be optimal. And then if you put a suppressor on it, it could be Hollywood quiet and you won't have to piss anybody off, and nobody would really know. And I think,
one of the things too is people don't think of is, so if you have that 22 long rifle, what other firearms and or ammunition could I utilize that to be able to scavenge, right?
Yep.
For temporary use.
So are you looking at this from like a self-defense, a warfare, and metro area versus like there's
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know,
big difference. Big difference. Yeah.
because like where
Mine
I'm
would be a
at,
rule.
there's
Yeah.
not really. I'm rural, but
Yeah.
I don't I don't know. I feel like I think everybody should have one. Of course, I'm
Yeah.
not saying you're wrong. I like something heavier
Yeah.
hitting, something that's got more, longer range to it. But then again, I'm in an area where I can go a quarter mile out of town and I can see for thousands of yards, and
Yeah.
then I might be defending myself in a
Yep.
completely different situation than a
Yeah.
normal
I
person
don't.
would.
I don't have
But
that. The vast majority of places around here, if you get 40 or 50 yards, 75 yards or so clear, definitely under 100 yards, right? You're just not pushing out past that. The trees are thick, the woods are thick, so
Yeah.
and to be honest, I mean, when it comes right down to it, I really love my archery, and an arrow is something you can go pick up and use it again in most circumstances anyway. So um, definitely having a bow would be a
yeah,
major go-to for me.
of
And
course
talk
they're
about
bar.
quiet, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you don't
and of
get much
course they're
quieter than that.
Of course, you barred out 2, 2, 3, and 5, 5, 6, which would be my obviously first. That would be my first choice,
Right.
So and
like
there's
most
actually
people.
there's a couple of different comments that are coming in here, and this is actually really really interesting, because I think number one you have to decide whether you are a hand loader or you have the capability and capacity to load, or you just limited to just you can't load, you won't be able to, and you just want to have a whole bunch of ammo that's just sitting there and that's it. So I think in any case you need to have 22, because even no matter whatever the circumstances, 22 is the only cartridge that you can't hand load for, and 22 is gonna. It's like you either have it or you don't.
Right.
Most of us don't have the capability of loading our own 22 rimfire
You
ammo.
and you can technically you can cast and reload 22. However, Um, I've done that, and I mean, even compared to the junkiest bulk 22 ammo, right? It's not super reliable or accurate by
Yeah.
doing
I
that.
I have issues in every semi-auto 22 I've ever had with reliability, like feeding and stuff, even the good ones. So that's another reason why I would like 22. Well, we
Yeah.
ruled out we can't use 223 or 5.6, but like 308 or something like that. But I
And
don't.
this is where I would probably say, if you have the capability of loading and you have, so for example, you don't load it, but you just, if you have bullets, brass, and primers that are accessible, I would actually go with the 6.5s. So get a bunch of 6.5 bullets, or let's say, for example, even if you get something like 130 grain 6.5 caliber bullets, and you have a bunch of 6.5 Grendel brass, a bunch of 6.5 Creedmoor brass, a bunch of 6.5 PRC brass, you can use the same bullet across all three cartridges
Yeah.
and load to
Oh,
whatever
but
you need to.
And where I am at is going to be different than like different locations, because
Yeah.
like if you think about it, like if it really came down to it, and this, I don't think it actually will. Well, I'm not even going to say, but if you're going to use your weapon to procure more weapons, right, or more ammunition, then that changes the game too. Because I know in my area, they're 308s, 30-06, 7 milli. Like there's
Yeah.
going to be different commonality. Like out here, they use those magnums or the big game cartridges a lot, and so even like if it came down to it, that's what you're going to find rifles in and ammunition in out here. But
Yeah.
well,
So
if
I
you're
would
I
talking
actually,
don't.
a reloading standpoint, right? From a projectile standpoint, and how much can you get out of it?
yeah,
The 308 is just
yeah,
it's hard to beat, man, because you've got 308, you got 30-06, you've got potentially 30-30, you've got 300 Win Mag,
yep.
you just
You,
got so many different.
7.62 by 39, you can use it there in the
You
pinch.
can use it, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
I think I would go like, and that's why I started kind of with 308 or 6.5 or 300, but probably 308 because, well, another thing is during this ammunition shortage from a factory standpoint,
Yeah.
you can still find 308 where I'm at relatively consistently, but even 6.5, even 22 long rifle, things like that actually were harder to find
Hmm.
than 308. But that could
Yeah.
be locality based, right? Like
Yeah.
my area could be different than somebody else's. But yeah,
I would say, so personally, I say the one cartridge that does so on the East Coast. I mean, the biggest issues that we probably face here is, I mean, so I'm not. There's it was common like okay, China invading and all that stuff. I don't foresee that happening. There's really no need for that. They already control us anyway, for by owning our government. But what I would be more concerned about is, and kind of what we saw happen already, there's an ammunition shortage, or they basically say, hey, there's no more of this cartridge coming in, and that would be 760 by 39. I think 760 by 39 outside of 223, if you're on the East Coast, 760 by 39 is a terrific intermediate cartridge. It's great for hunting.
Yep.
And like I said, you can use it in ARs, AKs, a bunch of bolt guns. You can load if you load it. You can load it subsonic. It's a fantastic cartridge. And the challenge that I see with it right now, we still so for those not familiar, a lot of 760 by 39 came out of the former Soviet Union, a lot of Russia stuff, and as of September, there's no more. They're not approving any more imports of Russian ammunition. So basically, what happened was they got in a bunch of orders. So there's still going to be about a year's worth of supply coming in. But afterwards, we have to get new 7.62 by 39 production ammo from somewhere, and it's going to take a while to get it. Let's say, for example, from Uzbekistan, Ukraine. There's a bunch of stuff coming from Turkey, but the best 7.62 by 39 really does come from Russia for the price percentage. So if you were stocking up on a caliber, you can still get it really cheap. Barnell, Wolf, you can get a bunch of cheap 7.62 by 39. Buy it. You can still get it probably for about $5 to $6 a box. That's what I would be stocking up if
Yep.
you're not going to hand load. But even if you hand load, I mean, you can almost buy it cheaper that way. I wouldn't waste my good primers on 7.62 by 39. So I'd be buying as much 7.62 by 39 as I can, especially if you have an AK. The other one is 5.45 by 39. So if you have an AK-74, you absolutely need to be stocking that up because I guarantee you, like 7.60 by 39, it's the most popular comp block type cartridge, and there's so many guns that are using it. So even if everything is blocked from Russia, other countries are going to come in and pick up the slack. But 5.45 by 39, it's very nichey to begin with.
Yep.
You need to basically buy all of it as you can right now before things start really getting bad for it.
Didn't PSA say they were going to start producing 7.62-39?
Yes,
I-
but
yeah.
it's PSA, so we'll see how long it actually takes.
Right. Yeah, no, I got you.
I think that if you're out east and something like that goes wrong with, the first thing to be to move. Just kidding.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
You could be the first ones to go. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
I'm from Michigan, so it's not far off, obviously. But our governor was worse than yours. I mean, Michigan's governor was worse.
All right, so there we go. Okay, so I think that was actually really good, and I got a comment that this was a really good, helpful live stream, and holy crap, it's already midnight, and we've been on that long. And I see Steven's already yawning, and it's only like 10 o'clock his time.
Yeah, I'm old.
11 o'clock for Chris. So I would say let's start wrapping this one up. I would say for those not familiar, please give a what. Let's wrap it up with tell us how to find your channel, what you're doing, and all of that stuff, and what you're most excited about for SHOT Show 2022.
Starting with me.
Go ahead, Chris.
Me? No. Obviously, the channel's Clover Tech. I'm on all the interwebs and medias. So, yeah, all the tubes. So, yeah, also can go to clovertech.com because you could find me on all the tubes there. I've got a little social media carousel that'll take you to your whatever platforms your actual poison. What am I doing? Been trying to get videos in the bank because that's one thing that folks don't necessarily realize. But I'll leave out probably Thursday around lunchtime, headed for SHOT Show. Thursday at about lunch this week. Won't get back until about that time. Good Lord, what, 2 weeks later, I guess,
Wow.
or so. So, um, And I say that we'll leave out Friday after shot, and it may, slowly come back. It might take 2 or 3 days, but nearly 2 weeks. So definitely got to get some content in the bank. That way, I've got videos dropping during that time. And um, what I'm looking forward to shot, man. Quite honestly, my approach with shot has been to, like I said before, is mainly just to remain fluid. Um, be willing to bob and weave and improvise, adapt, and overcome. And so it's going to be, playing it by ear for me. But I know that, I did make USCCA. It wasn't a big show, wasn't a whole lot of people there, but we also had AmCon during that time, and I did get to meet a lot of friends and everything else there. So, while I don't go to these events to, meet up and take selfies with everybody and all this other kind of stuff, it is going to be kind of cool to be able to fist bump and just kind of be in the same space as other people. We seldom, live chats in the comments, on the phone, text, whatever, pretty regular, but we don't get that, FaceTime, right?
Yep.
And human touch is a real thing. So that's what I'm looking for. But anyway, thanks for the great chat. I think it was cool too, and
Hi, this is
I appreciate
fantastic.
it.
Steven.
Yeah, so my name's Stephen Bresnaugh. I'm located in Wyoming. Like mentioned earlier, I do a combination of like gun reviews, optics reviews, hunting gear reviews, and hunting films. So kind of a combination of everything there. As far as SHOT Show, it's my first one. So I'm kind of just, I'm going there for business. I want to bring the most value in content that I can to YouTube on my channel. That's the primary goal. Secondary goal would be like to make contacts so I can get more stuff to review and show you guys on my channel. So that's kind of my plans there. As far as like the YouTube channel, what I got like already in works is all kinds of stuff. I got hunts coming out. I have a Christensen Ridgeline, a Havoc, or Seekins Havoc, PH2, a Weatherby Backcountry I'm still doing reviews on, and a, I can't even remember. Oh, Seiko. That all those rifles are going to be getting a whole bunch of footage and reviews and range testing and videos that are going to come out along with a bunch of optics. So all of that is going to be coming out in the next, hopefully 6 months, somewhere in there. So
Very cool. All right. So this was awesome. Chris, Steven, thank you for joining. This was actually really, really good. I enjoyed the conversation. And I'm glad a bunch of people actually enjoyed our chit chat here as well. And we will have this available as a replay. Might clean it up a little bit, might not, but it will be available as a replay for a little while. Once again, prior to this, we have our members only live stream. So if you want to help support the channel, do click on the join button that's like down there, and that'll definitely help out. And then if you guys want to continue the conversation, we have our Discord server. So just go there. That's our permanent link, and then we can continue our conversations there. As always, thank you guys for joining. Keep on squatting, and I'll see you in the next video.
have a good night.